A defensive identity of this franchise is undergoing a complete transformation today, sending shockwaves through the league that leave fans questioning the front office's long-term vision. Dawg Pound. Before we dive into the details, I want to give a massive shout out to Marcus from Cleveland, who requested this deep dive. The reality of this situation is far more complex than just a simple roster move, and the ripples will be felt for years to come. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you want the truth on why this move is happening right now. That decision revolves around the monumental departure of superstar defensive end Myles Garrett, who is officially being traded to the Los Angeles Rams in a move that signals a seismic shift for our organization. The news broke quickly, confirming that Andrew Berry and Rams GM Les Snead have orchestrated a blockbuster deal that will send the perennial Pro Bowler to California. In return, the Browns are expected to land at least one first-round draft pick and rising pass rusher Jared Verse, effectively ending the Myles Garrett era in Cleveland. This trade was not an overnight decision, as the writing has been on the wall throughout a turbulent offseason. The friction began when the organization chose to hire Todd Monken as head coach instead of defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz, a move that Myles Garrett publicly advocated against. Since that appointment, the relationship deteriorated rapidly, with the star player choosing to stay away from Berea entirely and refusing to meet with the new coaching staff. This move became a strategic possibility back in March when Andrew Berry reworked the contract, pushing annual option bonuses to provide the front office with ultimate roster flexibility. By adjusting those financial deadlines, the team gained the leverage necessary to execute this trade following the NFL draft. While the organization is framed as entering a new chapter, it is impossible to ignore the frustration that bubbled over since the team's difficult 3-win campaign. Myles Garrett had made his desire for a Super Bowl clear, and when the internal alignment shifted away from his preferences, the separation became inevitable. Now, we are left to evaluate a future without our defensive anchor, and wonder if the compensation received truly justifies the departure of a player who once signed a massive 4-year extension to be the face of this franchise. The timing of this trade creates a massive vacuum on the defensive line that the team must address immediately to stay competitive. While acquiring Jared Verse brings youth and high potential to the squad, losing a generational talent like Myles Garrett changes the entire defensive scheme. We have to ask ourselves, how does Todd Monken plan to generate pressure without his best pass rusher? This move isn't just about personnel. It is a clear message from the front office that the timeline for winning has been recalibrated. For years, the team has leaned on defensive dominance to compensate for offensive struggles, but that philosophy appears to be changing. With the inclusion of future first-round draft capital, Andrew Berry is clearly betting on a long-term rebuild rather than a quick fix for the 2026 season. We also have to look at the atmosphere in the locker room. When a leader like Myles Garrett explicitly voices dissatisfaction with the direction of the coaching staff and the lack of a stable quarterback situation, the morale of the entire team takes a hit. Now, the burden of leadership falls on the remaining veterans to stabilize a group that has seen its most recognizable star walk out the door. The trade sends a message that no player is bigger than the organization's current plan, even if that plan is still being formed. Fans are rightfully concerned about the immediate drop-off in defensive production. If Jared Verse doesn't transition into a high-level producer instantly, the pressure on the secondary will be immense. This move highlights a cold, calculated approach from the front office, prioritizing future assets over present-day stability. We are watching a total restructuring of the Cleveland identity, and the success of this trade will be judged entirely by how effectively those future draft picks are utilized to secure the team's future. Why does this deal matter so much for the future of the franchise? We are looking at a pivotal moment where the Browns are pivoting toward a total reboot, leaving behind the window of contention that was supposed to be defined by elite defensive play. The impact on the 2026 season cannot be overstated, as the team now faces a massive hurdle in maintaining a top-tier defense, while the offense continues to navigate the uncertainty of the quarterback competition between Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders. By trading Myles Garrett, the organization has effectively acknowledged that the previous identity was not yielding the desired results, specifically in the pursuit of a Super Bowl. This shift impacts everything, From the defensive coordinator's ability to call games to the expectations placed on the entire coaching staff. If the team fails to secure a franchise quarterback through these newly acquired picks, this trade will be viewed as the moment the organization lost its way. The stakes have never been higher for Andrew Berry. He has gambled that moving on from a disgruntled superstar will clear the path for a more cohesive, coach-led philosophy under Todd Monken. However, fans know that elite pass rushers are the lifeblood of a championship-caliber team. Replacing that production is not as simple as drafting a promising player like Jared Verse. The cultural impact of losing the defensive captain, especially after the public fallout at Radio Row, signals a major fracture that needed to be resolved. This is the definition of a high-risk, high-reward move. It determines if the Browns will remain stuck in mediocrity or if they can successfully transition into a new, more efficient era of competitive football that finally addresses the quarterback issue. Looking closer at the mechanics of this deal, the involvement of the Los Angeles Rams makes perfect sense for both parties. Sean McVay gets a cornerstone piece for a team with a clear Super Bowl window, while Cleveland secures the assets required to navigate their own rebuild. The connection between the two teams was likely fostered during the owners' meetings in Arizona. Even though the Browns rescinded the proposal to trade draft picks 5 years into the future, the dialogue had already started. It is fascinating that Jimmy Haslam essentially tipped the hand of the organization regarding the draft, showing just how deeply connected these two front offices have been throughout the spring. This confirms that this was not a knee-jerk reaction, but a calculated exit strategy. The fact that the trade was finalized after the NFL draft suggests the Browns wanted to see how the board fell before committing to parting with their star. Now, the focus must shift to how this impacts the competition for the starting quarterback job. With Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders still vying for the role, the team needed to clear cap space and gather resources to support whoever emerges as the starter. By offloading the massive contract associated with the previous era, the team gains the financial breathing room to potentially make further moves or extend key young pieces who fit the new timeline. It is a harsh reality for the fan base, but it shows a commitment to a clean slate. The organization is no longer trying to patch holes. They are tearing down the wall to build a new foundation. We must now watch to see if this sacrifice is the price of eventually hoisting the Lombardi Trophy, or if it's a detour into a prolonged rebuilding phase. As we move forward, the focus shifts to how the roster adapts without its centerpiece. Jared Verse now faces the tall task of filling shoes that were once meant for a Hall of Fame career. The success of this transition rests on whether the new coaching staff can implement a scheme that hides the loss of such a unique talent. We know that the offense remains the biggest question mark, but with these new assets, the pressure is squarely on the front office to hit on their next quarterback selection. If the team struggles early in the 2026 season, expect the questions regarding this trade to intensify, especially if Myles Garrett begins to dominate in Los Angeles. However, if the Browns can use these assets to finally build a consistent offense and a more balanced defense, this move could be remembered as the turning point for a new era in Cleveland. The fans have stood by this team through countless ups and downs, and they deserve clarity on the path ahead. The departure of a player like Myles Garrett is a painful reminder that the NFL is a business, but it also signals that the organization is no longer content with the status quo. Now I want to hear from you. With Myles Garrett heading to the Rams, do you believe Andrew Berry made the right decision for the long-term future of the Browns? Or has the team just sacrificed their best chance at a championship? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. I read every single one of them. And don't forget, keep supporting the team through this transition, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update on the New Look Browns as we navigate this challenging season.